There's a place in the Arizona desert the U.S. military would rather you didn't think too hard about. 2,600 acres just south of Tucson. You can see it from the highway. Rows of aircraft stretching across the desert floor, shimmering in the heat. Most people drive past and think, that's where old planes go to die. That's exactly what the Air Force is comfortable with you thinking. Because military planners in Beijing and Moscow don't see a graveyard when they look at that desert. They see a threat, a massive, sleeping, stored-up threat sitting in the sand. And they are not wrong. Welcome to Jet Corps. This is the real story of America's hidden Air Force. The official name is the 309th Aerospace Maintenance and Regeneration Group. AMARG Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, Tucson, Arizona. One of the most quietly powerful military installations on the planet. You've heard the number, 4,400 aircraft. Historically accurate. If every one of those airframes went back in the air simultaneously, they'd form the fourth largest air force on Earth. Not 10th, not 7th, 4th. Only the US, Russia, and China operate more active aircraft than what's sitting in that desert. But the number that matters in 2026 is 3,200. That's AMARG's current active curated inventory, plus 6,100 engines, plus nearly 300,000 line items of special production tooling, not rotting, maintained, cataloged, ready. Tucson wasn't chosen just for the dry air. Under that desert floor is a layer of rock-hard soil called caliche, practically concrete. A B-52 weighing 190,000 pounds parks directly on bare earth. No tarmac, no foundation needed. And one more thing before we go further. The public tours are gone. The Pima Air and Space Museum ran civilian bus tours to this facility for decades. Popular. People love them. The Air Force shut them down permanently. Official reason? Security considerations. They locked the gates on a facility holding 3,000 aircraft. Think about that. To understand why this facility is a weapon and not a junkyard, you have to know what happens to a jet the moment it arrives. It doesn't get parked and forgotten. What happens here is closer to surgery than storage. Every incoming aircraft gets fully logged. Flight hours, condition, every component. Then it gets washed, full interior and exterior, by crews in rubber suits working year-round in the Arizona heat. That wash strips every trace of corrosive residue. It sounds unglamorous. It's one of the most critical jobs on the base. Then comes spraylat, a white flexible vinyl compound sprayed over every surface, every seam, every intake, every exhaust port, sealed. That coating keeps out dust, insects, and moisture, and it's reflective enough to stabilize internal cabin temperatures within 15 degrees Celsius. Avionics sitting in 130-degree desert heat will degrade without it. Spraylat stops that. The real architecture of this place is something called the Type 1000 protocol. Type 1000 means inviolate storage. No one, and they mean no one, can remove a single component without explicit authorization from that weapon systems program office. Not a bolt, not a circuit board. These jets stay whole, ready to be pulled from the desert and put back in the air. Proof that it works. April 2026. B-1B Lancer, tail number 86-0115. Retired in 2021 when the B-21 Raider started coming online. Wrapped in spraylat, put in the desert. Then the geopolitical situation shifted. The bomber fleet needed reinforcing. The Air Force pulled 86-0115 out of its cocoon. Over 200 personnel from the 567th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron at Tinker Air Force Base went to work. Systems flushed, structural inspection, full restoration. The Air Force's own statement on why they didn't just repair a damaged active aircraft. Analysis determined regenerating an aircraft in AMARG storage could be accomplished faster, at lower cost, and risk. Faster, lower cost, less risk than fixing one that was already broken. April 2026. That bomber rejoined the 7th Bomb Wing at Dyess Air Force Base, named Apocalypse II after a World War II B-24 crew. At the dedication, Wing Commander Colonel Seth Spanier said, "This aircraft is now more than a tail number. It carries the weight of history. It sends a clear message to any adversary. We honor our past. We are masters of our present, and we will always be ready for the future." One AMARG official put the timeline plainly. Best preserved aircraft can be pulled, restored, and handed to Global Strike Command in as little as 69 days. 69 days from cocooned in the desert to flying combat missions. That is a loaded weapon sitting in the sand. But AMARG doesn't just resurrect aircraft for manned missions. For some jets, the second life they get is something far stranger. Meet the 82nd Aerial Target Squadron. Their entire job is shooting down American fighter jets, not enemy jets, American ones. When retired F-16 arrive at AMARG, some get selected for the QF-16 program, full-scale aerial target. Boeing and AMARG wire that retired fighter for completely unmanned autonomous flight. 6 months of conversion per aircraft. The radar gets pulled. The M61 Vulcan cannon stripped out. Nose packed with ballast to keep the center of gravity right. A smoke generator installed in the empty cannon bay so ground crews can track the jet visually at extreme range. Then an automatic flight control computer and full remote control suite go in. Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. This jet can take off by itself, full afterburner, gear retraction, climb to 1,000 feet, all autonomous, before a remote pilot ever touches the controls. They call the operating profile nullo. Not under live local operator, empty cockpit, jet climbing through the sky on its own. The 82nd sends these aircraft out, sometimes with a safety pilot aboard, sometimes completely empty, through 9G maneuvers at supersonic speed, used as live targets for classified next-generation weapons, including the AIM-260 Joint Advanced Tactical Missile. When a QF-16 flies a full live-fire mission, it also carries a flight termination system, an AIM-9 Sidewinder warhead wired into the fuselage. If the drone drifts outside test range boundaries, ground controllers detonate it. The aircraft destroys itself. The economics are almost offensive in their efficiency. New fighter jet, tens of millions. QF-16, conversion, $1 to $2 million. For a supersonic, autonomous, 9G-capable aerial target. And before each jet's final mission, technicians swap out the valuable modern engines, replacing them with older Pratt & Whitney or General Electric power plants not certified for manned flight. The good engines go back into the supply chain. The drone gets the expendable ones for its last flight. December 5th, 2025, Boeing delivered the 127th and final QF-16, tail number 83-1079. Production is complete. The remaining 90 drones will sustain live fire testing into the 2030s. America built a squadron of robot fighter jets that shoot themselves down for a living, and it cost almost nothing. Reasonable question at this point, does anyone else have this? China and Russia both operate massive aviation programs, mountains of retired hardware. Do they have their own version of AMARG? No, not even close, and the difference explains a lot about where American military power actually comes from. Start with China. The People's Liberation Army Air Force operates a facility at Lushan Airfield, their primary conversion hub. They're also converting retired aircraft into drones. J-6s and J-7s, fighters built on 1960s Soviet MiG-19 and MiG-21 designs, pulled from storage, modified for unmanned flight. Sounds similar. It is completely different. America's QF-16 exists to test American weapons. Engineers use them to validate missiles, collect kill data, refine lethality. Internal tools. China's converted drones are not test platforms. They are weapons. The Mitchell Institute identified approximately 580 J-6W unmanned combat aircraft in the Chinese inventory as of April of 2022, with production growing. These aircraft are built to fly into battle. The doctrine behind them is called the cicada strategy. In the opening hours of a conflict over Taiwan, launch hundreds of converted drones as the first wave. Runway cratering bombs, unguided rockets, anti-ship missiles. Their job is to exhaust Taiwan's surface-to-air interceptor stockpile, force the air defenses to burn expensive missiles on cheap, obsolete aircraft, so the J-20S and J-16S arrive to cleared airspace. Pragmatic, entirely different from what America's doing. Now Russia. May 2025, open source satellite analysis. 71 Mi-8 and Mi-24 helicopters sitting in an open field at Syzran Air Base. No hangars, no protection, just exposed to the elements. These are not a reserve. Military analysts called them cannibalization carcasses. Russia's helicopter fleet has been gutted by combat losses and supply chain collapse. Ground crews at Syzran are stripping those aircraft bare, rotors, engines, avionics, just to keep a fraction of their frontline fleet operational. AMARG generates $250 to $300 million in reclaimed parts annually through organized, precision cataloging. Russia is eating its dead to survive. China uses old jets as cheap bombs. Russia tears apart old helicopters out of desperation. America maintains a scientifically preserved reservoir of air power, tappable any time, at a fraction of new-build cost. That gap is 80 years of strategic patience. Walk through AMARG's rows today, and you'll see something that wasn't there 2 years ago. A 10 Warthogs, the plane Congress fought for, the plane the Air Force tried to retire and kept losing the argument, the plane that was destroying Iranian fast attack boats in the Strait of Hormuz earlier this year. Those aircraft started arriving in Tucson in 2024. Don't mistake that for an ending. Type 1000 storage means those Warthogs go in whole. Every system intact, every component preserved, nothing removed without program office authorization. If a major ground conflict erupts and commanders need close air support, those aircraft come back out, get rearmed, and go back to work. They are not retired. They are waiting. The QF-16 program has moved into its final phase. With the last delivery in December 2025, the 82nd Aerial Target Squadron now carefully husbands its 90 remaining drones to stretch live fire capability as far into the 2030s as possible. When the last one goes down on a test range, the Air Force faces a real gap. The 5th-generation aerial target stealth drone isn't built yet. Meanwhile, the reclamation operation runs quietly every day. Nearly 700 civilian workers show up to Davis-Monthan every morning. Sit with that number: 700 civilians and just three, active duty military personnel. This is not a combat unit. It is a precision industrial operation run almost entirely by American tradespeople, mechanics, engineers, and artisans who specialize in aircraft systems the original manufacturers stopped supporting decades ago. Between 5,000 and 6,000 components come out of stored aircraft every year. Fuel system parts, avionics, hydraulic components, things that would cost tens of thousands of dollars a piece to manufacture from scratch, walking out of AMARG already refurbished and certified, going straight back into active aircraft. That injects $250 to $300 million in recovered value into the military supply chain annually. Every year, no headlines, no fanfare, just 700 people doing precise, irreplaceable work in the desert. It would be easy to walk away thinking AMARG is an unlimited cheat code. Pull a jet whenever you need one, convert the old ones to drones, harvest hundreds of millions in parts, problem solved forever. That's not the reality. The QF-16 is the clearest example of where limits appear. Extraordinary capability, genuine value for weapons testing, but it's a 4th-generation fighter with a 4th-generation radar cross-section. It cannot replicate the stealth signature of a J-20 or Su-57. When you're testing a missile that needs to work against stealth threats, an F-16-sized radar return gives you wrong data. That gap is real enough that the Air Force is now funding the 5th-generation Aerial Target Program, a clean-sheet stealth drone built specifically for this mission. A brand new program, because the Boneyard doesn't yet contain retired stealth fighters to convert. The F-22s and F-35s are still flying. When they eventually arrive in Tucson, the calculus changes. That day isn't today. AMARG also can't manufacture capability that wasn't there to begin with. A preserved aircraft comes back exactly as capable as it was when it went in. Technology doesn't evolve in storage. What AMARG does, better than any comparable facility on Earth, is buy time. In great power competition, in the grinding math of industrial mobilization during a sustained conflict, time is the most valuable resource there is. Imagine a major conflict in the Pacific, not a skirmish, a sustained, high-intensity fight that burns through aircraft faster than production lines can replace them. Carriers get hit, aircraft are lost, factories are running flat out. But new airframes take months, sometimes years. In that scenario, The United States holds something no other nation on Earth can match: 2,600 acres of preserved titanium, aluminum, and firepower, sitting quietly under the Arizona sun. Aircraft that can be pulled from their white cocoons, flushed, and handed to flight crews in weeks. A strategic reserve the Defense Secretary can draw from the moment a situation demands it. A living, breathing insurance policy, written in 1946 and maintained every day since. One officer described it this way: "These aircraft are not dead. They are dormant, stored for the day, if it ever comes, when their parts, airframes, or systems will be needed again." AMARG is a silent insurance policy for the nation. Silent insurance. That's exactly what it is. The people who make it work are not generals. They don't get celebrated. They're the 700 civilians who show up to Tucson every morning and do the most precise, unglamorous, indispensable maintenance work in the American defense system. People who know aircraft systems the original manufacturers stopped supporting decades ago. People who can reach into a desert-stored airframe and pull out a component that would otherwise have to be engineered from scratch. Their names are not on the sides of aircraft, but every time a U.S. Air Force jet flies a mission on a reclaimed component from AMARG, every F-15, every B-52, every C-5 that stayed in the air because of a part that came out of that desert, that is their contribution. Unseen, uncelebrated, absolutely indispensable. The 309th Aerospace Maintenance and Regeneration Group is not a graveyard. It is a promise. America's ironclad guarantee that no matter how long the fight goes, no matter how many aircraft are lost, no matter where the conflict takes this country, America will not run out of iron. The jets are sleeping, not dead, and they will wake up when they're needed. If this changed how you see that Arizona desert, hit like and subscribe to JetCore. We cover the machines, the missions, and the stories that never make the front page. See you in the next one.